walking down the street. Probably random people walk up to you and say, "You're a well-dressed man."
Very true.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah.
Accurate.
I like how I say that.
Straight facts.
Let's dive right in. If you're a fan of non-sweeps in the NBA, then the Sixers-Celtics series is for you. Facing elimination, the Sixers bounced back at home last night, beating Boston to stave off elimination and to stave off humiliation. So much hype surrounding this young, talented Sixers team, and yet they needed a strong game last night just to beat the Celtics 103-92. Boston now up 3-1 in the series. Carlos, I'll start with you. How are the Sixers, do you think, finally able to take out this Celtics team?
I did a good job last night. They put McConnell in the starting lineup, had a great game, came off the bench with energy, always does that, but he scored a lot of points last night. He didn't get 19 points. Dario Saric was their leading scorer, which was huge for them. Their two young superstars had two double-doubles last night, points and rebounds, did very well. They were more physical. Obviously, got a little chippy out there, playoff basketball. You know how it is. But they did a great job of using all the other guys.
Sure.
More guys got involved in the scoring and did a good job on defense.
I think when this series started, you looked at it and said, oh, the Sixers are clearly the advantage here. They have Joel Embiid, they have Ben Simmons, they've been playing lights out. I mean, Rookie of the Year candidate, just fantastic players, young, exciting, so talented. And yet, besides last night, where they played okay, they showed up, they weren't outrageous. They've struggled a little bit in this series. Can you break that down a little bit for us? Why, what that is, if it was a mental or if it's just the fact that the stage is a little too big for them?
Yeah, they haven't shot the ball very well, especially this series, but that's playoff basketball. You're playing against a very well-coached defensive team in the Celtics who they watch the film. They know what you're good at. They're going to try to make you go to your weaknesses.
Right.
And this young team is learning out what the playoffs are about. So I think it's a combination of the Celtics are doing a great job of scouting out what the Sixers do very well, trying to take them out of it. At the same time, the Sixers are trying to grow up right in front of our eyes, their first playoff experience together against a very good team. So those two combinations are the reasons why.
What were you most uncomfortable defending? What type of player? Maybe you can give me a name. There's a reason I'm asking it. But what's the type of matchup that when you saw it, I got to guard this guy, this type of player, it gave you the most trouble? Yeah,
for me, it was like a Dirk Nowitzki kind of pick and roll with Steve Nash because he was 7 foot, so his size was a factor. I'm 6'9", he was 7 feet, shooting a three behind his head. And if you get up on him, he could drive by you. And that team that Seattle had where it was Rashard Lewis, Ray Allen, and Radmanovich, that the pick and rolls you really couldn't switch because they were all three-point shooters as well. So those were the matchups that I struggled with because they were great three-point shooters, so you had to recover to the paint on drives and get back out to shooters.
The reason I ask is what this series is revealing to me, at least, is, and I think Joel Embiid is going to finish second Defensive Player of the Year this year, and deservedly so. He's been outstanding. And we saw him even in the NBA All-Star game, the ability to, on a switch, go out and guard guys. Like, he's been great. But where he's been neutralized is if the guy he's guarding is just going to hang out in the corner and shoot threes like Aaron Baines. If the Celtics are saying, we're not going to run any post plays for Baines, we're not going to try to beat you that way, and it seems like he had been, prior to last night, schemed out of the series a little bit defensively. Is that what you were saying?
No, it's smart because you're getting one of the best defensive guys in the game away from the basket. Even when he's guarding Horford, Horford's spaced out the three-point line. That takes that defensive anchor out of the paint and gives up more space to the other guys.
You could definitely tell in last night's game, Joel Embiid on purpose, a lot of times, he didn't go to the corner. He went and guarded whoever was in the action, whoever's in the pick and roll. So he's starting to figure it out. Now, as far as Ben Simmons, we've seen, because they got through the Miami series, you're like, oh, man, rookies for the first time. Playoff experience doesn't matter. But to me, and you have to judge the totality of the playoffs after you're finished compared to one series. Now, he's struggled big in series number 2. What do you look for him going into year number 2 next year after seeing what's happened in the playoffs? How can he improve his game?
His jump shot. I mean, you think about it. If this guy gets a jump shot, the league is his. You know, he's dominated the regular season.
But how hard is that?
Yeah, you got to put the time in. I mean, you got to go in the gym.
And learn how to shoot the basketball?
Get up 1,000 shots. It doesn't have to be pretty, but it has to be accurate. You have to at least shoot 50, 60% from open shots, at least shoot 35% from the three. If he does that, his team goes like this.
Now, Kobe broke down Ben Simmons and said he needs to restructure his jump shot.
His form.
Now, how do you do that? We haven't heard many NBA players. We heard potentially Lonzo Ball when he came in. That might be. But Ben Simmons, is that a real thing? And how successful do you think that process can be?
It's going to take time. You know, obviously, anything that you want to be successful, it takes time. But he's got to do it, though. At the end of the day, if he gets his jump shot where he's more accurate and he's shooting, 65, 70% of mid-range shots and he's shooting 30 to 35% from three, his whole team goes like this because now he's a threat. It changes his decision-making. Like that offensive rebound he got where he tried to tip it in real quick, he would have grabbed that, got fouled, went to the line, knocked down 2 free throws calmly, and they win game 3.
That's game 3, right?
And this series is 2-2.
Well, and Philly had a 22-point lead in game 2.
Yeah, that's true.
They blew it. They had every opportunity to win game 3. They blew it through bad turnovers, bad decision by Simmons, some bad coaching mistakes. I know it sounds odd, they could be up 3-1. I'm not saying they deserve to be up 3-1, but a couple bounces, they could be up 3-1 on Simmons. The Lonzo thing's different to me. Because Lonzo's got a ridiculous form, but it had been effective for him every step of his basketball career until the pros. He didn't have to worry about not getting his shot off. He was bigger than most guys. He was more athletic than most guys. Ben Simmons, how surprising is it to you that he hasn't ever developed in his entire basketball career, high school, AAU, year at LSU, just a semi-competent 12-footer. Like, that's the part that's shocking to me because he's not a guy who was playing center his whole life. He's a guy who's been a point guard. He's been a big point guard. Why do you think he's never developed it? Because he didn't have to? Because he could just get to the rim on everyone? Like, is that a failure in some youth coaching? Like, why do you think he's gotten to this point to where he doesn't even think to shoot the ball outside of 6 feet?
Well, that's a good point that you made about Ball. You could say the same for Ben Simmons. He's been the tallest player, the most athletic player, maybe the most talented player on the court.
Even more so than Ball.
Yeah, no question, because he's 6'11", so at the end of the day, he didn't really have to get a jump shot because he could do so many other things and be effective. But now the playoffs come, and as you guys know, it exposes your weaknesses. So if he does get in the gym, get a jump shot, whew, lights out.
But when you say, let me ask you this, if both players reach their full potential, who do you think's the better player, Simmons or Embiid?
I think Simmons. I think because he makes his teammates better with the pass.
He's also a lot further away, too.
Yeah, no question. No question. Embiid's by far the best player right now. But if he reaches potential, he could be the better player.
All right. Carlos, we'll see you a little bit later on the show.
Yeah.
Coming up is Joe Flacco on the hot seat in
Hot
Baltimore.
seat.
Next on First Things First.
Been on the hot seat for like 4 years.
I developed a jump shot.
Jenna?